Men who became less attracted to their girlfriends/wives after childbirth. What were the specific reasons to the best of your recollection? I don't know any other way to articulate it, but we stopped being husband and wife and became mom and dad. Baby needs mom and mom needs dad's support. Not much time left for husband and wife. It took a few years to figure out what happened. A baby changes your life so dramatically. We didn't notice all the other second and third order changes right away. But once we did, we made time to be husband and wife again. So true. It's all about a perfect balance. Because kids need to grow up witnessing their parents put their needs, love/personal interests first as well. It's how to lead by example. The only married couple I still admire to this day put in equal parenting effort, but also equal effort to parent, while one goes to their tennis lesson and then switch when the other has a guy's weekend, and then both take time off, hire a sitter and enjoy romantic time with each other. Parents are humans too. The right partner won't want you to lose yourself for them, or your kids, otherwise they won't ever get back the person they chose in the first place before kids were in the picture. Lots of Europeans adopted this kids first/me first balance. This thread makes me realize I have no business getting a wife and knocking her up before I'm more emotionally stable. Good on you for recognizing that, bro. I feel like we had a success story. After she gave birth and went into mom mode, I found her hotter, but she avoided any sex or relationship talk for a long time. She wouldn't even joke about sex, and she avoided any kind of intimacy. I started to get really frustrated. Finally, I just asked her straight out what was happening, and she was honest. It turns out she had this big mental block telling her sex was going to hurt like hell now for some reason. And it made her avoid all intimacy because she didn't want to get my hopes up for sex. She already knew it was irrational, but couldn't help it. But after talking it out, we were able to think of plans to ease her back into having a sex life and assuage her fears. We've gone through several different kinds of problems since then, but the key was to address our issues early and often, and not let anything fester. Later, once our son started sleeping through the night, we made a point to spend more time on each other. We would try to clean house while he was awake, usually one person cleaning while the other is taking care of the baby nearby, trading places occasionally so that we didn't always have to clean while he was asleep and could cuddle on the couch for a while instead. We also implemented a weekly check and talk. How are you feeling about parenthood? How are you feeling about our marriage? How are you feeling about life in general? We would sometimes have these talks while pushing a stroller around the neighborhood. Again, this helped us get out ahead of any problems. Now that our son is approaching 2 years old, our life feels like it's basically back to normal, except now we have a wonderful little guy who enjoys family hugs. My wife was already pregnant when we got married, so the honeymoon period was the only time we were child-free. There was not a lot of sex at all. And then after the birth our child was in NICU for a few months. We didn't really do it again till after his first birthday, and when we did it seemed like a chore for her. This turned me off quite a bit. Around year 3 she started getting actually excited for sex again, and her enthusiasm made me get all horny for her again for the first time in a long time. So everything worked out. Love a happy ending. As an expecting father of a surprise baby, this comment section is just outlining all of my current greatest fears. Since a worrying number of the comments seem to be caused by postnatal depression, 1 in 10 women will get it within a year after birth, and it can last months if not years. Maybe you'll be a better partner and help the mother get medical help earlier on instead of just waiting for it to automatically get better. Her personality changed pretty much right away. She became much more anxious than before and required a lot of physical, emotional and moral support. I did my best to carry my part of the load, both mental load and physical load, and we arrived to a point where she wanted to be physically intimate again. But I was too exhausted and burned out to have a libido, and sex felt like a chore. There was mutual resentment during that time, some of which remains unresolved. To add to that, our child was a very light sleeper and was co-sleeping in the same bed with us until the age of 2. I learned to wake up and go to bed very quietly and causing as little of a stir as possible. Between the stress and workload of taking care of an infant, burnout and resentment, I stopped seeing my home and family as a safe haven or a place to rest and de-stress. That led to further stress on the relationship, which meant out eating habits became even more unhealthy than before. We both put on weight during that time, which made us both feel unattractive. There's some remark about pooping with the bathroom door open, but that's going to be familiar for anyone with a toddler. Then the pandemic and lockdowns hit and we were confined to an apartment with an energetic 2-year-old for months. By now, both our personalities and looks have changed to the point where I don't see a way out. She's turned into a gigantic flaming asshole. I adore my children, and I'm a professional people manager, so I'll hang through this. But holy s is she mean. Just vicious. Thinks nobody notices. Everybody notices. She gave her body over to creating these 3 miracles and that counts for a lot. Enough that I'm not going to leave her or anything. But Jesus Christ woman. How do you function with that much seething anger? She's in therapy. I'm in therapy. We're in therapy together. 3 separate therapists. Last year I became convinced it was me. That almost killed me. Thank God I had a friend clue in and interrupt me. Dude, your wife is a gigantic asshole to you. It's not you. That one sentence literally saved my life. Lol, if that text had come 6 minutes later I would not be posting this comment. Checking on your boys. Damn dude, do it does she do. Glad you are feeling better about yourself. Your friends and kids and family need you in this world and you gotta do whatever it takes to keep yourself feeling good. I became more attracted to my wife while she was pregnant and after the birth of our kids. I saw that she was carrying my offspring, making the sacrifices of pregnancy, and generally putting her life on the line to provide us with children. My part in the process was short-lived, but she endured every second of carrying our babies. I didn't know I could love my wife or possibly be more attached to her than I saw our children be born. For me, it took our relationship to a level I didn't know existed. After 4 kids, I want her now more than I did before. Sure, her body changed, but that isn't even a factor. The emotional bond is stronger and her body drives me wild. A ray of sunshine. There's a lot of men who feel as you do about their wives and mother of their children. Lack of intimacy. The workload to kids bring kind of buried the relationship I had/have with my GF. Kids are of age 3 and 1. 5 years. The moments we have free time is usually spent to try and relax/do stuff that mentally and physically recharge me/her for the next day. I also have somewhat physical job and am introvert, so I'm already mentally and some days physically at my limits and just want some alone time. GF feels more like a roommate most of the time. Just my thoughts on the subject. If ever there was a comment section that made me feel better about myself, this would be it. It's humbling and depressing, but I'm fascinated and just keep reading /view 200D. It wasn't mine. Yeah, it ended shortly after. Hope you're doing well now. Means a lot, thank you. Honestly, blessing in disguise. For me, the physical attraction has never gone away. I've always thought she was the most attractive woman in the world. That hasn't changed with 3 kids. But I've definitely become less attracted over time, if that makes sense. Like if we are talking about a desire for sexual and non-sexual intimacy, it's decreased over time. After our first 2 kids I definitely still made my interest in her known despite her not reciprocating, understandably because of postpartum life, but after our 3rd I feel a lot more apathy towards it, with not wanting to feel attracted because I know it'll be one-sided, or if I do, I just try to ignore those feelings or push them to the side because the past it's just led to worse resentment. It does make sense. I think perhaps I should have said loss of attraction or connection, because I think attraction comes across as physical by nature. Of course that might be a piece of it, but that wasn't my sole purpose in asking. Really, a lot of men are talking about a loss of connection and ultimately intimacy. Just posting to say to all the young men out there, things are not nearly as doom and gloom as this thread makes things out to be. I've been with my wife for 8 years, married for 3, and have a 1-year-old. Things are great between us. It was hard for a bit during pregnancy and after, but we both communicated clearly and often about our needs and desires. Because of that, Resentment doesn't really have a chance to build up. If anything, I love and appreciate my wife now more than ever. Sure, our bodies may not be exactly the same as they were in our early 20s, but I'm still very much attracted to her, and likewise her to me. Sex life may also not be a daily thing like at 23, but we at least were making it happen at least weekly at this point. I think we are doing pretty well. Being a parent is hard, but if you choose the right woman you will be a team that makes things better for each other. I'm the one that summoned the dark clouds. Muahaha, I should ask another question in the other direction, so we can find some balance in here. I didn't expect this many replies. As a woman who has yet to become a mother, I see these replies as simply an outline of the things that men need or desire in order to maintain a healthy relationship after kids. For me, there's just been an underlying resentment towards her since our child was born. He wasn't a surprise baby. We both made a conscious choice to become parents, but the older he gets, the more apparent it is that she didn't have a clue in hell as to what the difficult aspects of parenting could look like. So on one hand, I was mentally prepared to take on the burden of raising a child because I thought my wife was also in the same headspace. But now that we've been doing it for a year, it's clear she put about as much thought into the severe decreasing quality of life as a Lifetime movie, meaning I really shouldn't have had a child with her. The real kicker? Despite being clearly overwhelmed with the first child, she's genuinely shocked when I say I'm done having any more and ours will just be an only child. It'd be one thing if she was at least happy about being a parent, since she pushed so hard for it the entire relationship. I cold gone either way, honestly. But when she's clearly miserable with how limited her life is now, the thought always creeps back into my head, well no, this sucks. This is what being a parent looks like. You wanted it so badly but never considered this? So we are just miserable and limited for no reason now. I love my son, but my life before him was way better. I'm always amazed when parents that planned their child are shocked at how hard raising a child is. I have a buddy that told me that raising a kid would be like raising a more complicated dog. Needless to say, he got a rude awakening when his baby was born. These comments are so sad. The moment our babies were born, she stopped being my partner and just became a mom. She made it her identity until they left for college. By that point we didn't really know each other anymore, and we were too far gone, so the relationship couldn't be salvaged. I don't judge her. She's an amazing mom, but I'm a damn good dad too. But we just couldn't keep our ties to each other at the forefront. And, yeah, while it really is sad that things panned out the way they did, we still co-parent well. On behalf of my man, I gained weight. Simple as that. He is into petite girls. After the birth of our son 5 years ago, I gained 40+ pounds. Now hear me out. In this 5 years he never even mentioned once that I'm too fat for him. I tried to lose weight occasionally for my own sake, but never stick to it as I had, and still have a very stressful everyday life. Recently he told me that he would rate me as a 5 out of 10. And one reason for that is of course my weight. Can't lie, it hurts. But it hurts enough to actually change something. Ironically, our sex life developed for the better. Maybe he wants to bang my weight of as I think of it now. For what it's worth, weight loss happens in the kitchen, not the gym. Not sure what regimen you've tried in the past, but even if you ditch working out completely, there are very sustainable and delicious diets you can follow long term. I won't mention mine, but just picking one means that you're watching what you eat. I lost 50 pounds in 1 year and gained back 15 without going to the gym once. It was the difference between being overweight and in shape for me. Wow, congrats to your success. Well, my problem was maintaining healthy eating habits. I skipped meals on accident and shoved in everything I could find in minutes the second I had time. Since this rating scenario I'm pretty consistent. I already lost 6 lbs. Good luck on your journey. I'm so glad I'm gay. Nuclear families were a mistake for baby support. This actually is the MVP comment in this thread. Surprised it isn't more upvoted. Multi-generational families, or nuclear families able to afford au pairs/nannies, work well for a reason. I'm actually attracted to her more physically, because I happen to prefer curvier women, so the weight gain made me desire her a lot more. The problem is that she hates the weight gain, and lover making is often unfulfilling with a woman who hates her body. So much so that I don't even try anymore. Just beat off when I'm free and carry on everything else as normal as possible. Still love my wife and love my kid to death. But I will miss how much fun our marriage and life used to be for sure. I think this could be fixed by just accepting your wife the way she is, big or small, and your wife getting to a weight she's comfortable with. Talk to each other and motivate each other. I read threads like this, and it makes me so happy that my wife and I are happily child free. Honestly, it's a wonder that anyone would want a kid anymore. It seems to just ruin everyone's ability to be happy and enjoy life. I appreciate the honesty from everyone here. I asked this question because this is one of my biggest fears about becoming a mother. It's pretty common, and the reasons why the attraction or relationship changes is often complex, but there's a lot of physical body changes and less sex that seem to be a catalyst. Physical attributes can't always be fixed naturally or fixed right away. I love my husband so much. I don't want to end up miserable with a baby and a husband who looks at me like I'm used up and stressed out. I don't think my husband would be that way solely because of physical appearance, but I also know he wants to be with someone who is as physically healthy as possible. It's a big part of both of our lives now without kids. I also know there are men who are in awe of their wives after they become mothers. It just seems like there's a lot of places where things might fall apart. I got less attracted because after kids, I was put behind the family dog from a priority standpoint. Just a walking paycheck that she rejected 90% of the time. So it was nothing physical, because I was still attracted to her from that standpoint. But the constant rejection and warden-like behavior made her far less attractive to me. She stopped being the girlfriend I married and became a warden. My ex-wife focused all her attention and effort exclusively on our baby, and in so doing neglected herself and our relationship. It felt like I was pushed aside and relegated to a role as an ATM and handyman. How could I possibly stay attracted to her in that situation? There are so many men who commented the same thing. Forgotten. Taskmaster. Provider. That sucks. She was a cool, fun girlfriend, then wife. But after we had kids, she didn't want to slow down. As soon as she could stop breastfeeding, she returned to partying. She never fully, abusively neglected the children while we were together, but they were way down on her list of priorities. They were accessories, not responsibilities. Her mother was all too willing to watch them while we went out, and at the time I was very grateful for it. We had 2 kids back to back, Irish twins as they're called. She was pregnant continuously for the better part of 2 years, and we couldn't really do anything during that time. Bed rest for the last part of the last one, and all the other stresses of a new family, a new life, a new area, new house. So when we got a respite, I eagerly took it, but it kept going and going. Eventually her mother had to get on with her life and couldn't watch the kids all the time, but her desire to party never waned. So where we could, we took the kids with us, but I was always left to care for them. She'd disappear all night and leave me to watch them, never tagging in, so that I could enjoy the festivities too. Luckily the marriage failed before I fully lost attraction, but it was heading that way fast. She started partying without me, and we all know how that ends. And we all know how the family courts are, so we know how that ended too. The kids live with her mother now, and have a far better support system than I can provide, and she's much better about letting me see them than my ex-wife ever was, though it's not without issues. TLDR, I lost attraction to my wife after having children, because she was a bad mother. I was a SAHM for 20 years. I took pride in cleaning, cooking, and taking care of the kids, doing financial, and everything it takes to be the CEO of my home, so my husband could go to his job and be the CEO there. It's a mindset, and it can be fulfilling if you know your worth and your husband's worth. Too much competition in marriage now and not enough coming together to make both of your lives better. Also, all this talk about weight and trying for your spouse being a negative and hurting feelings is dumb. Your partner should be able to be your accountability partner and say, hey, I think your health and body have changed. I think it's imperative we try to hold a standard of why we were first attracted to each other in the first place. You can't expect the same intimacy and great sex you once had. If you are not willing to accept, you need to put more effort in your appearance and emotional response for your partner. We all change and have ebbs and flows of relationships. But damn, you can't just give up and expect someone to be OKW. That just BC you are a mother. It takes effort to keep the passion on both sides. That means physical attraction too. Be a good partner, not a consumer. 22 years and 4 kids later, we are having the best sex ever. BC we kept trying and holding each other accountable. Life is hard, but you can make excuses or live it. I have grown to resent her parenting many times, and I have lost all attraction because she has lost all self-respect. I'd love to hear more about why you feel your partner has lost all self-respect. She's at home all day with the baby, and she thinks that being with / looking after the baby is the only thing that matters. Sure it does. But also, paying the mortgage and bills matters. Therefore working matters. Also cooking to feed us matters. Shopping for that food matter. You get the picture. Her day is hang out with a baby all day. My day is go to work all day, drive an hour, cook dinner for us. Then I get an hour to put our baby to bed. Given the only thing that matters is the baby, she is therefore doing everything and I'm doing nothing. That has killed our relationship.